Okay, so like we always do, we're going to take a deep dive into something interesting that's out there in the world. And today, we're looking at this whole Drake and Kendrick Lamar thing.
Yeah.
And specifically, this lawsuit that's in progress surrounding a diss track by Lamar called Not Like Us.
Really?
Right. This kind of goes beyond your typical, lyrical sparring match.
Yeah. Serious stuff.
It's gotten serious.
This is really interesting because, it brings up the question of freedom of speech.
Oh, absolutely.
And, where do we draw the line between artistic license and, just outright defamation?
Right. Exactly. And so to give everyone the background here.
Yeah.
Essentially, Drake's legal team is saying that the lyrics in this song, not like us, they're saying it's led millions of people around the world to believe that Lamar is actually accusing Drake of being a pedophile.
Yeah.
And that's the basis of the lawsuit. They're saying that, this isn't just typical,
Right.
It's not just an insult. It's actually a factual statement that people are taking as truth.
Right. And that's what's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the courts because, as you said, typically, diss tracks are just seen as like these artistic expressions of, just kind of like throwing shade at each other.
Riffing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But in this case, it seems like Drake's team is taking it a step further.
Exactly. And one of the interesting elements here is the response, or at least the anticipated response, from Universal Music Group, UMG.
Yeah.
And it sounds like they're trying to kind of nip this in the bud.
They're saying this case is likely to be dismissed, and therefore they want to stop the discovery process, which is, where they're gathering information and evidence and all of that.
Right, because discovery can be expensive and time-consuming. So they're basically saying, this is just frivolous. Let's not even waste our time with it.
Oh, right. And Drake's lawyers are very much pushing back against that. They're saying, hold on a second. You haven't shown us that it's an undue burden. They haven't given, specifics about, how long it's going to take or the costs involved.
So that's kind of where the legal battle stands right now.
Exactly. And I think what Drake's lawyers are trying to argue is that this is not just typical, diss track stuff.
Right.
They're saying that these lyrics were taken as factual accusations by a large number of people, and that's what makes it different.
Exactly. And it goes even deeper than that they're saying that the lyrics themselves and the way they were presented implied that Lamar has evidence to support these claims.
Yes, like he's privy to some information that, the public doesn't have.
Right, exactly. And that's a really crucial point.
Yeah, because it's not just about the words themselves, it's about what those words imply.
Exactly.
Like if I say, I saw the documents proving that you're a criminal.
Right.
Even if I don't show you those documents, the implication is that those documents exist.
Right.
And that makes the accusation much more serious.
Absolutely. So, this is really interesting stuff. And I think to really understand the heart of this, we need to look at the actual lyrics that are in question.
Okay.
So the specific lines from Not Like Us that are at the center of this whole lawsuit include, say, Drake, I hear you like him young. You better not ever go to cell block 1. To any bee that talk to him and they in love, just make sure you hide your little sister from him. They tell me Chubb's the only one that get your hand-me-downs.
Mm-hmm.
And party at the party playing with his nose now. And Baca got a weird case. Why is he around? Certified lover boy. Certified pedophiles.
Whoa. Okay, so, just reading those lyrics, I can see why Drake is upset.
Yeah.
It's pretty explicit, and it definitely seems to go beyond just playful banter.
Yeah. And the repetition, like the certified lover boy, certified pedophiles,
Yeah, it's like he's really driving that point home.
Yeah, and the references to, liking him young and hiding your little sister. Those are really pointed accusations.
Right, and the mention of cell block 1, that's a very clear reference to prison.
Right.
So it's not just like, he's a bad person, it's like he's a criminal.
Right.
And that's a very serious accusation.
Exactly. And so, we're looking at this intersection between artistic expression, freedom of speech, and, this very real legal concept of defamation.
Right, and it's a tough one because on the one hand, hip-hop has always been about, pushing the boundaries.
Right.
About being provocative, about speaking truth to power, and diss tracks are part of that tradition.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are limits to what you can say.
Right.
And when you're accusing someone of something as serious as pedophilia, you better be prepared to back it up.
Right. And that's what Drake's team is saying. They're saying that these lyrics went beyond the pale. They crossed that line. And they're saying that a significant portion of the audience understood them as actual accusations.
Right, and that's what's going to be really interesting to see how the courts decide. Because, where do we draw the line between artistic license and defamation, especially in the age of social media where these lyrics can go viral and be seen by millions of people in an instant?
Exactly. And so as we wrap up this deep dive into this case, it's clear that this is a really significant legal battle.
Yeah.
Drake's team is really challenging the music industry's long-held beliefs about how listeners interpret diss tracks.
Right.
And they're really adamant that these lyrics were taken as factual by a huge audience.
Yeah, and the outcome of this case could really set a precedent for how future defamation claims in the music industry are handled.
Exactly.
So it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Right, and the central question here is, did listeners actually believe that Drake was being accused of this horrible crime?
Right.
Based on these lyrics, and did the context of the song imply that there was some sort of evidence to support these claims?
Right.
And these are really tough questions that the court is going to have to grapple with.
Yeah, and it really makes you think about the power of language and how careful we need to be with our words, especially in today's world.
Right, especially when you're an artist and you have a platform and millions of people are listening to what you have to say.
Exactly.
So as we kind of, leave this discussion, I want to leave you with a thought here.
Okay.
We've been talking about the legal ramifications of all this, but I think it's also important to think about the ethical implications.
Yeah.
What responsibility do artists have to use their words carefully?
Right.
Especially when they have the power to really damage someone's reputation.
Yeah, that's a really important question, and I think it's one that we all need to be thinking about, not just artists, but everyone who uses social media or any kind of public platform.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where's that line between, free speech and the responsibility to not harm others with your words?
Right.
So that's something to think about as you go about your day today.
Absolutely. Food for thought.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks for joining me for this deep dive. It's been a fascinating conversation. And, we'll be back next time to explore something else interesting out there in the world.
Sounds good.
All right.
Take care.
See you later.